Hi, so I want to talk a little bit about closing on the spot. And there are many reasons this is important. Just a few that come to mind include time. Think about needing to meet with every business owner two, three, four, five times. That's one very important thing. Time is literally money. So when you look at people that are very, very successful, they are great at efficiency. They have this internal sense of urgency, this mindset of how do I make this happen now? I don't want the dishes in the sink to stack up. I've used the dish, now I'm going to clean it, rinse it, whatever, put it in the dishwasher, put it in the dish rack. I'm going to take care of this now. We also get confidence from completing things now. If we're making calls, for example, someone says, call us back. Can you call me back later? Well, that might feel good. It's like a partial win because they're like, oh, it's some semblance of hope. But if I extend the conversation because internally I go, how do I resolve this now with a question such as, well, hey, when are you thinking about having me call you back? And they give you like, oh, I don't know, maybe like Tuesday. You know what? I can do you one better. I'm looking at my calendar, Tuesday. I could actually just swing by. Were you thinking morning or afternoon? Morning? Okay, perfect. I've got a 10 or an 11. In fact, that's too many questions. I like just jumping to offering one morning and afternoon type, just again, efficiency, simplicity. Great. Tuesday. Look, I've got a 10:30 I could swing by. I've also got a 1:15. Which is better for you, right? So now I've resolved that on the spot. So we get confidence and accomplishment from completing something satisfactorily in the moment. Another reason to sign things on the spot. The moment that we leave a meeting, and by the way, we sign a ton of deals on a second appointment. We have a very high percentage of first appointment closes, a very high percentage of second appointment closes, a much smaller percentage of deals that happen over the course of time, three, four, five touches. And the reason is there's really not a lot to think about if you're a small or medium business owner when it comes to doing business with us. All they're really thinking about is this an important market, right? Are these people that I want to reach? The answer is yes. Then we're going, here's how you can reach them. We have incredible products and services. And then the third part is let's just figure out what type of financial commitment makes sense for this business owner to enter in an agreement right now, right? Because if those other things are there, there's no reason for us to wait or delay. So that leads me to a couple of things to understand. One is some business owners, they may be able to stretch themselves and they may be thinking about a number that's larger than they were prepared to spend or invest before they meet with you, right? We'll just use this analogy of going car shopping. I don't know, it sticks out to me. If I'm going out and there's a few different ways I've bought cars in my life. Most of the time, it's like I have an idea of about how much I want to spend. I have a few things I'm looking for. Okay, I want a sunroof, leather seats, a third row, right? All-wheel drive. Like those stand out. Those have been things that have been important to me since my early 20s, actually, or mid 20s. So I know those are things I'm looking for in a car, and then I just go and match, does the vehicle have these things uh, with the price point that I was headed by. Now, I also know I've gone to buy a car and I've spent more than I thought. I knew, I was like, all right, I know I can definitely afford that, but it's more than I'd plan on spending, but that's okay, right? So there is a cushion. Let's say someone when they're meeting with you, they might have in their mind they're really planning on spending $300, $400 a month. You walk out of there, they've spent 700, 800 for a monthly investment. Totally fine, totally normal. But if you're really good at building value, and I know there's a few of you that have run into this recently, part of what sparked this, where you're sitting there and they go, gosh, I really want the blank, the back cover, expert, real estate expert, and the real estate listings, real estate sponsor, so they want a package that you're looking at 17, 1800, 2000 a month. And they're like, gosh, I just really don't know. I really would like that. You've presented so much value. They want this larger order, but they weren't prepared to spend that much. And maybe it's outside of that mental cushion. One of the skills is being to help people come on board right now with what they can spend, or what at least a version of what they know they can spend. If they're prepared to spend 500 and they spend 600, 700, 800, that's fine too, right? They probably, subconsciously, intrinsically know that they can stretch themselves and spend that even though they weren't planning it. So what do we do, right? We're looking at something, it's 1600, 1700. If they're like, boom, they buy on the spot, that's great. We had a couple of really great sales come in right after the division meeting yesterday. Claudia Waddell was one of them, back cover, $48,000 cross sale, by the way. So kudos to both of you, both the publisher receiving the back cover cross sale and Claudia for selling it. Talk about a win-win financially for both of you and for the client. So those kind of things are huge. But so what's this skill set of bringing someone on board right now, right? So think about it. Market's important. The media is how they get access. We know we have great products. They know we have a great product. By the time we sit down with them, our confidence can really convey that, especially with simplicity. So third thing is the money, right? So let's say they're looking at something that's $1,700, but they're like, gosh, I really need to think about it. That is quite a commitment. How can we get them to act now? And again, why? So I started off with why. Let's give a little bit more of the why here. Why would I want them to act now versus just having them sit on it for a night or 2 nights and coming back later? Well, when we leave a meeting, one of two things happens. And maybe you've experienced this in your personal life. You get excited to buy something, you think it's really neat. But then when you leave, you either talk yourself into it or you talk yourself out of it. Let's go back to this car example. Maybe you were going to look at, like a Honda, and then you drive by the Range Rover dealership and you go, gosh, I really would like a Range Rover. Well, maybe that's something you can get very excited. It's easy to talk yourself into wanting when you leave. Maybe you go home and talk to your spouse. Hey, I know we were looking at, the new Nissan Leaf. I'm just throwing random cars that I've seen around here recently out there, but I really saw a Range Rover. I think I'm gonna get the Range Rover. Range Rover, whoa, whoa, we didn't plan for that. We didn't budget that. No way you're getting a Range Rover, says the spouse, right? Marketing and advertising. Maybe the business owner had told them, yeah, I'm going to meet with someone about some local marketing. I'll probably spend like 400, $500 a month, and then, and they're thinking Honda, and then they go home to their spouse. Gosh, they had a Ferrari. Please, can I have the Ferrari of marketing and advertising? What's the spouse say? No way. We did not budget or plan for a Ferrari. You're fine without it. Stick with now you got to stick with the car that you already have because they don't want you to buy any car because all they talked about was the Ferrari when they went home, right? See how that can affect the sales process. So what do? We help them come on board with something that makes sense now, something that their spouse won't freak out about when they get home. And there's some general phrases, some general phrases and ways. Okay, there we go. Not Dr. Seuss. Some general phrases and ways to do that. One of those ways, and I talk about this a lot, but we call them twice removed statements or social proof statements, things like that, with a phrase such as, what many business owners do. So context, they're looking at something, they said they need to think about it a little bit more than they wanted to spend, or some version of that. Hey, great, Adam. I appreciate you sharing that too. So, what most business owners do, or what many business owners do that are in a similar position, is they actually get started with something that makes sense for their budget now. It only takes a few minutes for us to set up. Most business owners, they just put a card on file, and you can always upgrade later. Totally common. So, this ad that you're looking at, I'm adding a lot more context, try to keep it simple, but I'm kind of expanding. So to generate some ideas as you think about this. So again, what most business owners do, right? Use your own phrase there. What many business owners do is they get started with something that makes sense, something that's doable for their budget, because you can always upgrade later. What's something that makes sense for you today, right? Some version of that. What's a number that's doable? How much too much is the most common, but we probably would have already used that before we got to this point. So I'm not using it again. We're just whittling it down. We heard one of our themes in the division meeting yesterday was asking good questions. Some of those questions, can just emerge from the idea of how do I make this happen today? In fact, that's a great question. Someone's like, I don't know, maybe you've even gone back for a second. They're like, oh, still haven't decided. Hey, I totally get it. Let me ask you this. In the interest of time, it seems like you want to do something. I'm here again. How do we make this happen today? Right? They're going to tell you, oh, it's just a financial thing. It's this. If you could do this, I could do this, right? Now you're in a little ping pong thing. So keep that in mind that maybe if they are looking at something that is 1,600, 2,000, maybe it's even 900, but it is just a financial thing. What's the vehicle that they can drive off the lot with today? Maybe it's not the Ferrari, but let's get them a new car so they're not just going back and doing nothing because they've convinced themselves or talked to someone else when they left that they weren't planning on spending that much, right? So we can work on that more one-to-one if you want to talk, do some role playing. Another thing is, so that's a one component. Another big component of getting someone to sign on the spot so we can capture the attention. This is the time when someone has the most information, the most specific information, the most relevant information. It's when they're in the clearest headspace, when we're sitting there with them, talking to them about it, answering their questions. They're never going to be more clear on the buying process than that moment when we're sitting with them. So it's significant, important to capture that. It's why, what are those? I haven't seen one in a while, but like the telethons where they're, showing you pictures of things and nonprofits and they're like, call now, right? That's just human behavior. We want to capture that excitement, that energy, that clarity of thought in the moment. So a part of that is understanding what the buying process is like, right? So first question is, do I understand the buying process myself? Do I know what that looks like? Whether it's my 100th ad I'm about to write up or my first ad, how clear am I on that, right? You can have a long 3-day weekend and our heads can become a little fuzzy. So we want to refine the process or jump into it right away. So a few things to keep in mind. You have an in-print publisher and a preprint publisher. So I'll speak to both of those things. If you're in print and preprint, some of these are really the same. The only thing that's different would be deadline, but a few phrases, a few key things, a few helpful things as we're going into pricing. Most businesses just put a card on file. There's nothing due today. If you're in print, you don't have to elaborate on the first billing date. That'll come up with the agreement. Some people like to introduce it here, though. The first billing's not until the 25th, until whenever, or give or take a few business days. It only takes a few minutes for us to set up, literally just a few minutes. So the more we can show that efficiency and give them a preview of the buying process, most businesses put a card in file, only takes a few minutes. These are the monthly investments, right? So those are key things. It's helping them see the next steps. A great presenter in an appointment, whether it's the magazine tour, the slideshow, there's this idea and concept of we're doing this together while always planting these seeds of here's what it looks like for us to do business. We're acting as if we're so confident in the outcome. Whether or not it goes that way, we're going to find out. But when we can be confident in the process and the outcome with our own internal sort of focus on right now, we get great results. So if you're preprint, obviously there's no deadline or first billing date, so the phrase will be very similar. But most businesses, they put a card on file for reserving your spot in the first edition, and it only takes a few minutes. These are the monthly investments, right? So you want to help paint a picture throughout the presentation of what it looks like to do business together. Maybe you're doing the magazine tour. A lot of you heard me say this before, and you're talking and, highlighting some different things. By the way, Joe, would you be providing or designing your own ad, or would we do it for you? And they might go, oh, that's a good question. Is there an additional cost, or what does that look like? No, actually, we can totally take care of it for you. It's something that it's included in our services. And they're like, wow, that's pretty neat, right? So think about these things. When it comes to signing on the spot, where is our own internal sense of urgency? Not rushed, artificial, pushy, anything like that. That's not what we're talking about here, right? We're talking about a process and an act of helping people come on board, again, driving off the lot with a new vehicle, a vehicle in advertising or marketing that is better than their existing vehicle. If they're doing nothing, they should be doing something. If they're doing something, this is going to upgrade or improve that. And if they want to go big, can they do it now? If not, what can we do? I hope that helps a lot and look forward to talking to you soon.